Bates Motel Season 4, Episode 7, There's No Place Like Home. Now, I'm pretty far behind. I just realized while I was trying to look up some extra info for this episode that next week is actually the finale, so I'm really going to have to try to make sure I catch up on all of the episodes before next Monday, because I've just been so far behind, and it took me forever to even consider the idea that I should watch the show online on A&E, because there's only one place that I can go where I can actually watch the channel A&E. So that's why I'm so incredibly far behind. Like, I believe I'm a full month, but I guess they've taken. It seems like they took an extra week break. So fortunately, I haven't missed the finale. But catching up on things, I think this was a cool episode. It was definitely a bit of a scary episode because it's like, okay, there's certain things that happen in this episode that are gonna lead to obviously some more devastating stuff. Um, One of the big things, of course, being Dylan in this episode. He's kind of getting the information. He's like, okay, I found this letter in Norman's room. He confronts Norma about it, which I was happy that happened. I was glad it didn't happen, episodes down the line. It was like the very next episode. He has the letter. Weird things are happening. Emma has the argument with her father, which I thought was a really funny scene. Like, he comes in, it's like, oh, things are awkward, and she's just like, oh, we're arguing about my mom, and I thought that was really funny. But he knows things are really weird. It's like, okay, so he's looking into some information. He finds out that she owes like a month's worth of rent, which in itself actually isn't that suspicious, because that kind of tells us that she really was, kind of just coming around to kind of get money or something like that. And I thought that was interesting, because it's like, okay, she completely up and disappeared, but unless they've skipped a ton of time between, like, I think that was 3 episodes ago, 2 or 3 episodes ago when she died, and now unless that's been like a full month, it's a little weird. She'd already taken off, and she already, owed a buttload of money anyway. So it was interesting, him getting all this information, and the big question still there is like, what the heck is happening? Where is she? Is the big question, because we had the thing where she was in the freezer, so she was moved from the freezer, and we don't know where. Norman didn't have any sort of flashes or anything like that. He doesn't remember at all. Well, it's in there somewhere, of course, but we haven't seen it yet. So he took her out of the freezer after he killed her, and she's somewhere else. The note was obviously in his room. Yeah, and I don't know. It's like, well, obviously he can't get busted for it because they still have, the next season, and maybe they'll save it until the final season, because 5 is going to be the last season. So they might save it, but I just don't know. It's crazy. It's just like, where is she now? It's like, she wasn't in the freezer, she wasn't in the pit. So something crazy is happening. She's somewhere, and it's just basically impossible to tell where. It's like she's going to be just in the woods or something. But Dylan's on the case. It's like, she never officially checked out and all this other weird stuff. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was cool that he's kind of on the search trying to figure out what happened to Emma's mom. So I enjoyed that. Then we have Norman kind of finding out his own little set of truths. And the biggest one, of course, being the fact that his mother is now married. And I love the way they did that, because he sees his mom, they have all these little slivers and stuff like that with the paper. And so he sees, like, I'm pretty sure that's my mom. And so when he puts all the pieces together, I was like, that's actually very cool that that's how it happens. Like, oh, just give them, newspapers or whatever, because you wouldn't really think of that. And any normal, I would assume most people working there aren't going to know, like, all the patients, personally. So it's not like I'm going to know that this is, his mother just because it's Norma Bates. And I probably wouldn't give a crap, because it's like, why do I care, who the sheriff's new wife is or anything like that. So I thought it was cool. It was like, okay, just totally random. And he puts the pieces together, and he kind of freaks out. It's like, oh, it's time for me to go home, I guess. And I love that, like, the whole episode, Norma, assumes that he doesn't know, so she's lying about certain things. And it was just fun to watch. Like, I was like, he's gonna either bust her, or he's gonna just keep saying stuff until she screws up. And I really enjoyed that. I'm like, I don't know how it's gonna play, if he's gonna kind of, like, force it out of her, or if he's just gonna say it. But eventually he does just flat out say it, and I was like, okay. So she had, of course, nothing to say. It was just like, oh, like, the whole time. So I loved that, because I was like, that's kind of what I was expecting and kind of hoping for, really. and it was good. It was like, oh, I did it just for the insurance and stuff like that. And Norman, he totally plays the psychiatrist, where it's like he cries and stuff, like he said to his buddy. It's like, I'm not really crazy like you're crazy. I can manipulate people and I can make people, care about me. And so that's exactly what he does. And, he puts on the waterworks and it's like, okay, I'm getting out of here. He works with the psychiatrist still I believe the guy mentioned, he was like, we'll keep it at 3 times a week. It's like, okay, no problem. But he's free now. He's free, he's back home, and I can't wait to see the chaos that comes from that, because there's just no way that Norman and Romero are going to be in the same place and it's going to work out, because Norman has his issues. He doesn't want anyone near his mother, so that's not going to play out, regardless of how they feel about each other. And it might end up being worse, because Norman mentions, like, oh, I told him it was just for the insurance money when she was talking to Romero. It's like, I don't want you to be mad. And I know it was wrong to say that, but I felt it would have undone everything. And she's probably right. Like, if she said, like, oh, well, I mean, even if she gave him the actual explanation, like, that's how it started, but we actually care for each other now, even that would have been terrible for him to hear, and it would have, like, ruined everything, and maybe would have made him go completely insane, which I'm sure they'll still do that anyway. But I'm excited to see how this little trio works, and I'm sure, Dylan's going to be around. We still haven't seen Caleb. I was very surprised that he didn't show up in this episode, so they might save that for the next one, or maybe the one after, but I'm assuming he'll be back before the finale. But I enjoyed that one. I thought it was really cool. Him kind of manipulating the psychiatrist, him finally getting himself out, and just all the chaos that is clearly going to come from that. And we seemingly, I want to say seemingly, I don't want to say we have the resolution, but we seemingly have the resolution to Romero's issue. Because the woman comes in, and once again I forgot her name, but she says she's leaving town, and it's like, oh, I'm going to see my sick mother. And Romero, he does tell her the smart thing. First off, she shouldn't have been there. And secondly, she probably shouldn't take off, because they're, the FBI is kind of investigating her, the CIA, whoever it was. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to visit my sick mother. They can see that however they want to. And I'm assuming she has an actual sick mother, otherwise that would be stupid, because if they're, really watching her, they probably know that she went to visit him, and that could be an issue. So I don't know. I like I said, I want to say seemingly. I don't want to just be like, yeah, it's definitely said and done. She's like, oh, all the issues are fine. I'm assuming, she took some of the money or whatever. And it's like, that's still not finished. I just don't believe that that's finished. Like, oh, you gave me the key, all that's taken care of, I'm going to go visit my sick mother. One of the other big things when you steal a buttload of money, or you're, and being investigated for laundering a buttload of money, you can't really spend it. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, you have to do some very secretive stuff. Or do cash only. And I'm assuming it was, maybe in bonds. It wouldn't be, because it was like $3 million or something. So it's not going to be, $3 million in cash just in this little box. But you got to be super careful with that type of stuff. So I don't know if she just got rid of it, or if she's hiding it, or if she, kind of did her money laundering thing. And, it's harder to do that for yourself when you don't own a business. So I don't know how she can really do that for herself. But whatever she did, she says it's taken care of. But I still feel like that's going to come back to her, to both of them, really. So I don't think that's over. But I'm definitely looking forward to where that's going to go. Because it's almost impossible for me to believe that that's just said and done. Like, oh, he killed this guy, he gave her the key, which is somewhat of a bad idea, but at the same time, it's kind of what I mentioned before. If she decided to just say he's the one who has all the money, technically she wouldn't have been wrong, even though she would have thought she was lying, just to put blame on him. So he was kind of messed up on both sides of that. But there are just so many ties to how that could go wrong for Romero that I just don't believe that it's, boom, it's just tightly wrapped up and it's all, said and done. So I'm sure we'll see something about that. If not this season, if she doesn't come back this season, I feel like that's something they'll still save for next season, just to kind of add to the chaos and some stuff that they can save, for the final season of the show. But I definitely enjoyed this episode. Very excited to see what they do with Norman back home, and he's with his mom, and he's gonna see her with Romero, and they're gonna be, you know, very attached to each other. But of course, Norma's gonna try to hide that from Norman because obviously it would just make him lose his mind again. And Dylan, and I love this scene early on when Dylan first goes to Norma to confront her about the letter and everything. And it's like, yeah, things are really weird, and he was here alone with her possibly. And Norma's like, what are you getting at? He's like, you know exactly what I'm getting at. It's like, he may have killed her. Like, he's putting that option out there, which he's not wrong. So, I don't know if they're going to end up having a confrontation like that, but if he feels like he's really getting that close to the answer and he truly believes that it's his own brother, that's going to affect everyone, because obviously it'll affect Emma, because it's, even though it's a crappy situation, it's still her mother having been killed after trying to, get in touch with her to see if she was okay. Well, and, kind of the money thing as well, because she read the letter, but it'll still be an issue for her. So I'm definitely looking forward to how they play around with that idea. Of course, though, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, even though I'm so late putting this up. I definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I normally have to do this because if I'm so far behind, you guys have most likely caught up with this show and seen, what comes next. But I definitely want to know what your expectations were, and are, I guess, if you haven't seen the episode yet. What your expectations are for Norman once he gets back home. Like, what's going to come of that? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be chaos. We only have a couple more episodes, and Norman is the catalyst for chaos. It's not going to be simple. And then, we still have the Caleb stuff, which isn't even really related to what's about to happen with Norman, but that's going to have an effect as well if that comes into play, because he doesn't have, based on everything that happened, Caleb isn't really liked by Norman. So there are a lot of issues there too if he happens to come back as this is happening with Norma and Romero, and Norman's just seeing all of it and he's dealing with that, and then Caleb comes back to town, and all these different issues. So I know it's going to be bad. I don't think they'll kill anyone, but I don't know. I doubt they'll kill anyone off, but at the same time, I also did just see something that said, did they really kill off blank? It said spoilers, so thank goodness it didn't actually show a name. But maybe somebody dies? I don't know what that's supposed to... I don't know if that's really important or if it's like one of the side characters where it's just surprising that they did it. But I don't know. It seems like it would be important since it's like the article. But definitely want to know your expectations for it. And of course what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below. Let me know. And thanks for watching.